CrUUNers. I think you're supposed to come up.
Am I not supposed to do this?
Yeah. No? You're not going to come up? Okay. No. Come on up.
Our prelude today, sung by the CrUUNers, is Will Justice Roll Down by Jason Shelton. And this is from a speech by Martin Luther King in 1968 titled The Other America. And I must say tonight that a riot is the language of the unheard. And what is it America has failed to hear? It has failed to hear that the promises of freedom and justice have not been met. And it has failed to hear that large segments of white society are more concerned about tranquility and the status quo than about justice and humanity.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. I'm Jerry Fry, a member of your Board of Trustees. We're an intentionally inclusive, welcoming community dedicated to peace and justice. Excuse me. And we celebrate your presence here. We have large print programs, large print hymnals, excuse me, and hearing assistance devices available from the ushers if any of those items are helpful to you. Please check that your phone is silenced. Thank you. A special greeting to families and children. Children of all ages and are welcome to attend classes after we sing them out or remain with us for the service. If this is your first time here, please accompany your children downstairs to register. Audio can be heard in the fellowship hall for those who may need to leave. You may re-enter the sanctuary quietly at any time. If you prefer to remain quiet during our greeting time, please place your hand on your heart and we will respect your wish. I invite you now to take a moment to greet those around you with special welcome to guests and newcomers. Got choked up.
Good morning, everyone. Wonderful to see you this morning.
Am I supposed to be on the chair?
We may see some goofiness going on today. This fall, we began doing a land acknowledgement at the beginning of each of our services, telling the stories and learning the histories of the peoples of this land. And I want to offer now a briefer version, I think we'll continue this, of the land acknowledgement, followed by a moment of silence. We recognize and acknowledge that we gather on the lands of indigenous peoples, taken through deception, coercion, and violence. We acknowledge the continued displacement and oppression of Native people and honor their commitments to survival, identity, and protection of our world. Thank you. First of all, this morning, I want to acknowledge that there may be heavy, angry, or fearful hearts, or maybe all three, in the sanctuary this morning after the impeachment trial this week and the other world events. Sort of, I don't know about for you, but complicated by the fact that the sun is out for the very first time in weeks. So I'm feeling a range of emotion. But I think for many of us, what we have witnessed this week has been difficult and profoundly disillusioning, and many of us are afraid for our future. It's a very serious time. So it is very good that our Soul Matters theme for February is resilience, reminding us of the power of the human spirit, even and perhaps especially in difficult times. This is what we can offer each other here in this sanctuary every Sunday and in between Sundays. This gift of inspiration, of reminding each other of how we can care for each other and demonstrate a different way of being in the world than we're seeing. A way that strengthens us for that journey and emboldens us to act even if we are afraid or despairing. And here at UUCUC, many beautiful and exciting possibilities are unfolding. This is the first Sunday that Reverend Bill Breeden will be here, but not the last. Yay! Thank you, Bill! For the next 3 months, he will be sharing the ministry with me here in our pulpit about once a month, and here during the week once or twice a month, to provide support and inspiration for our transition to a multi-minister church. And you can see our schedule, Bill's schedule, on the bulletin board outside our office. And your board is committed to bringing on a part-time associate minister starting next fall to support my full-time ministry here, so that this can be even more a place of inspiration and support in these times. Because, as we have said before, we are needed. We are needed. And so we can be a place that deepens our resilience and the resilience of our community and those who find us in times of difficulty and also in times of joy. Thank you to all who have already pledged support to help make this audacious dream a possibility. And thank you to all who are considering it through our Leadership Circle initiative. You are an extraordinary community. We are so blessed to have each other.
Please join me for the words of our chalice lighting, chosen by Reverend Breeden and found in your order of service. We light this chalice for the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment, which calls for us to care for this earth.
The worship team does a great job of bringing together all sorts of random people who don't know what's happening in the rest of the service. My name is Elizabeth Simpson. Good morning. And this month, as part of our bolstering ourselves together in community, we'll be singing every week an adaptation from Anthem by Leonard Cohen. Who knows that song already? Okay. The lyrics to this song are... So this is an adaptation done by Numai Wen as part of a community singing tradition. We adapt things. And the lyrics that are taken for this are, "Forget your perfect offering, just ring the bells that still can ring. There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in." And I take this both for me when I say, oh, what I'm doing is not good enough, whatever, but also when the situation isn't good enough. Like, well, I don't know, it's kind of like a cloudy day and I just got bad news and the political this and that. There's a crack there too, obviously, and that's an opportunity for the light, perhaps your light, to come in. So to help teach this song, I have brought my friend Lefty, my puppet Lefty here. To you it might look like righty, but that's because sometimes people misjudge from the outside. You got to get to know somebody. So it's a call and response, and I'm going to just mimic it here for a minute, and then we'll do it together. When I go like this, that's you talking as Lefty. Forget your perfect offering, forget your perfect offering. Just ring the bells that still can ring, just ring the bells that still can ring. There is a crack in everything, there is a crack in everything. That's how the light, oops, okay. That's how the light, that's how the light gets in. So that part is, that's how the light, that's how the light gets in. Okay, people who sang this with us at Pride, can you stand up first? You are our song leaders, thank you for doing that. Everybody else stand up. Here we go. And we'll do it like 3 times. I know you're in straight pews. It's hard to have gusto, but I think a lot of what life calls for is how to dance between straight lines, so let's do that. So. Forget your perfect offering, forget your perfect offering. Just ring the bells that still can ring, just ring the bells that still can ring. There is a crack in everything, there is a crack in everything. That's how the light, that's how the light gets in, that's how the light, that's how the light gets in. Forget your perfect offering, forget your perfect offering. Just ring the bells that still can ring, just ring the bells that still can ring. There is a crack in everything, there is a crack in everything. That's how the light, that's how the light gets in, that's how the light, that's how the light. Last time, forget your perfect offering, forget your perfect offering. Just ring the bells that still can ring, just ring the bells that still can ring. There is a crack in everything, there is a crack in everything. That's how the light, that's how the light gets in, that's how the light, that's how the light gets in. Yes. There are extra parts that we will add on. If you are someone who's like, yes, I want to do something different, I don't like being part of the crowd, come early and we'll learn a part at 10 o'clock next week and we'll keep building.
Thank you so much, Beth. That was fantastic. Well, I want to invite anybody who would like to come get a little closer onto the chancel. You could be a young person or not. Come on up. Come on up to the chancel if you feel so inclined. Don't be shy. Come on. There's somebody very special up here to meet.
I'm down here.
Yeah. All right, we're getting some takers here.
Here they come.
But you don't have to. Nobody. That's one of the things about our church. Nobody has to do it.
You can just
So, yeah. All right. So, any of you played like true and false questions ever? You know? Yeah. Okay, good. Oh, we got some more coming here. So, I want to introduce all of you to the Reverend Bill Breeden.
Hello.
Hello. Here he is. And Theodore Barker.
Hello there.
That's Theodore Barker. He's I don't know, would you call him your sidekick?
He's not a sidekick.
Not a sidekick. You're his sidekick.
There is a sidekick.
Yeah. Okay, great. Glad we got that straight.
Yeah.
So which one is the sidekick? Hey! Okay. So here it is. And you're going to, all of you here in the front, you get the first attempt at this, and then we'll ask the larger group. I'm going to say some things that might or might not be true about Reverend Bill here, okay? So if you think it's true, you can raise your hand, and if you think it's not true, you can keep your hand down, okay? And then we'll ask everybody else. The Reverend Bill Breeden spent a number of his years as a commercial truck driver. How many people think this might be, that this is true? Okay, how about out here? Who thinks this is true? Okay, some people, yeah. Okay, well, what's the truth? The great reveal here.
He's a truck driver. Jamming gears. He likes to jam gears.
Likes to jam the gears. Okay, all right. So there you go. Here's another one. Bill is an identical twin. He has an identical twin brother. But not only that, there are 3 sets of twins in his own family. No, there's shakings of heads up here. Okay, how many people think this could be true? No one. How many people out here think it might be true? A few, yeah. Well, what's the truth?
3 sets of twins and 3 singles. Pappy called them spares.
Spares.
Pappy said they were spares.
So how many does that add up to altogether?
That was 9.
That's 9. Yeah. Okay. All right.
And we weren't even Catholic.
Yeah. Okay, here's one for you. What do you think? Do you think that Bill and his wife, Glenda, raised their kids in a teepee? No way. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, what do you all think? Oh, well, somehow they must have gotten out somehow, rumors. Okay, what's the truth?
I sent him a note. It's true.
It's true. They raised it. How many years?
5.
5 years in a teepee in southern Indiana, with no electricity or anything like that, right? Nope, none of that. None of that.
No television.
Oh, no television. Oh my God. How would you function?
We had a good dog, though.
You had a good dog? Good dog. Okay, that does a lot. Plus the dogs keep you warm in the winter, yeah? Yeah. Okay. Here's the last one. Bill started preaching, that's like coming up to the pulpit and like doing the thing, when he was 14 years old. You think that's true? No. What do you guys think? Well, I have this feeling that they've caught on to the pattern out there. So, okay, what's the truth?
It's the truth.
It's the truth. Okay, there we go. And maybe keep your eyes open in the e-news. Maybe we'll share some other interesting facts about the guy that's sharing the ministry for the next few months. You might be surprised. So, okay, thank you very much. We're going to sing you out. You want to make an arch here?
Goodbye. Goodbye.
I hope that was fun for everyone, or as much fun as it was for us. I'd like to invite our board chair, Randy Locke, our co-chairs of membership. Who's here? Okay. Well, maybe there she is. She was hiding in the far, far back. And our membership professional, the Director of Congregational Engagement, Sherry Bolin, on to the chancel at this time. This is always really exciting. We do this about 3 times a year, and it's always really thrilling to welcome new members. Today, we welcome 12 new members to our UUCUC congregation. And I didn't check, but is there an insert in your order of service with pictures of them and all? This is new, and we're so excited about it because it seems like a wonderful way to be able to get to know them better. Membership is a voluntary expression of each person's heartfelt intention to join with this faith, its values, and this community. All these people have signed the book of members, joining their names with all the members since this congregation was founded. This actual book goes back to when the Unitarian and Universalist congregations joined in 1959. New members, you are no longer guests in someone else's house. You are now part of us, members of this cooperative, bringing your own uniqueness, energies, and talents as your gifts. We are all in this together now. This is how we all lift each other up and make this a truly vibrant and meaningful and valuable congregation within and beyond these walls. We look forward to seeing what you bring. Our membership coordinator, our director of congregational engagement, it's trouble with an old script, will now introduce our new members.
My title has been a bit of a moving target, so that's why. Anyway, but I am Sherry Boland, the Director of Congregational Engagement. And one of the very best parts of my job, one of the things I enjoy most, is getting to introduce new members to you. And as Florence said, today we have 12 new members. 2 of them are not here. One is home with her sick baby. Where's Matt? I'm looking. Oh, there you are. One is home with her sick baby, and the other is on a business trip. But I'll still introduce them to you, so when they come, you'll be able to find them, and you'll know them by the little yellow new member ribbon hanging from their button. So because there are so many today, I'm not going to read the full bio like I often do, or we'd be here for a long time. So I'm going to read what my husband called earlier today, what'd you call them? Sound bites. So each person gets a sound bite, but then I would encourage you to pull out in the middle of your order of service is a bio, picture, name, and bio of each person. Also in Fellowship Hall, on the bulletin board behind the hub table, are pictures, names, full bios there. So, new members, as I call your name, if you'll come up carefully, up the ramp, and join us here on the chancel, and if you'll just make a nice straight line, please. First up is Joe DeWalt. Joe is a network engineer with the city of Champaign, and he's married to our next new member, Pat DeWalt. Pat tells us that she loves her husband, Joe, her dogs, T, and Champaign-Urbana. Next new member is Julia Freeman, who's a wonderful, brand new young woman to our community as well as our church. And her job is just fascinating. She works for a company that designs museum exhibits. How cool is that? So you'll see her picture when she returns from her business trip. You'll meet her lovely young woman. Next up, Laura Heestand Haber. And Laura tells us that she proudly joins her father, Herb Heestand, as a second-generation UU member. Are you here, Herb? He's not. Okay. We'll say hi, Herb, anyway. Next new member is Jean Hovde. I had to practice. It's spelled H-O-V-D-E. Now, how would you pronounce that? And it's Hovde. And so we decided the way I can remember it, it rhymes with Lovedy, so it's Lovedy Hovde. So this is Jean Lovedy Hovde. She did. And Jean says that she's looking forward to contributing toward making this country a beacon of hope. And I'm sure we can all join her in that. Next up is Rich Kozich, who recently moved here from Milwaukee. He enjoys music, travel, and all kinds of college sports. Next up, another challenging name, but he taught me how to say it, Matthew Kravchuk. Matthew wants you to know that he didn't think that there was a church community, that a church community existed that would accept him and that he would want to join. But he found us. The other person that is not here is Matt's wife, Courtney, who is home with their little one, Vera. Courtney is a physicist turned nursing student and aspiring midwife. And actually, Courtney's been quite involved. She's been an usher, so you've seen her around. You'll recognize her. Next up, Claudia Larimore. Claudia tells us that she's chosen UUC membership because of the spirit of activism and love that permeates our congregation. Next up is the adventuresome Ann Thomas. Ann lived on a sailboat for 7 years. You'll have to ask her about that. But now she lives in Urbana. Why? Because she says it's safer. Next up is Jason Vargas. Jason was born and raised in Orange County, California, and he's very happy to have found UUCUC and looks forward to meeting all of you and getting to know you all better. And last but not at all least, Paul Weston. Paul's professional career. Paul actually has a very interesting bio, so I just had to pick out one little thing. Professional career included research during the very early years of what we now call artificial intelligence. So I encourage you to seek these people out during fellowship hour, and you can find them by their little yellow new member ribbon that Ann Sharp so diligently makes for us, and we appreciate. So please find them, welcome them, and hopefully you'll find something to chat about through those little sound bites I just gave you, or the bigger bio.
Yeah. Not quite done yet. There is more. We have a pledge of new members and a congregational pledge to you. So, for the pledge of new members, will you, the new members of the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign, enter into covenant with us, joining your strengths and talents with ours in our work for a just world and a loving religious community? If you agree, please say, I will. I will. And now, congregation, would you please rise in body or in spirit? Will you, the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign, joyfully receive these new members? Will you reach out to them, bring them into the circle of this congregation and the smaller circles of friendship and connection? And will you pledge to them your faith, your hope, and your love? If you agree, please say, we will. We will. Now, following the service today, there will be a reception, so please, I invite you to interact and engage with our new members, and likewise, please feel free to engage with everybody here. Now, we'll be able to provide each of these people with one of our church history books, and thank you very much for your support of them.
Oh, it's such a sweet time. So please now rise in body or spirit and find hymn number 360, which we are going to sing in the spirit of welcoming these new members. Here we have gathered.
We, as Unitarian Universalists, acknowledge that we are part of the sacred web of life, the web of our connections with each other, with the wider community, and with the world. This time in the service each Sunday is a time to honor and lift up those connections. In the spirit of our connections to each other, our new adult RE religious education program has many wonderful offerings. You can see some Path, Money, Spirit, and Life, and that's today's class. It still has openings, and you are welcome to just come in. This powerful UU curriculum is an exploration of our relationship with money and relationship to all aspects of our lives. Also, our March and multi-generational living legacy pilgrimage to civil rights sites in the South has now reached full enrollment, but there's still room on the waiting list. Each Sunday we share our Sunday offering with local and national organizations in alignment with our values, voted on by members and friends of UC each year. Our shared offering for February is Salt and Light Ministries, with stores in Urbana and Champaign. Their motto is fighting poverty with dignity. The youth of UC voted to nominate Salt and Light for our shared offering. Let us show our youth we support their choice. The offering will now be taken.
February, we're talking about resilience. This song is called Garden. It's about those who find peace and tranquility in the face of the hardship of poverty. Banks coming down, they're taking all our hard-earned pay. Lord, give it, but He taketh away. And I pay our debts, but work's getting hard to find. These are hard times. I built this house with my own two hands. Now they're gonna take it, and 5 acres of land. And all of our children are growing up way too fast in these hard times. But wait, oh wait, see how the morning breaks. It's the simplest of love songs, but it's all our hearts can take. Though we lose our stake, heaven is where we make it. Even in the smallest places, can a garden grow? I took this job in part as a sacrifice for my unborn children and my beautiful wife. And I always worked hard on all of these sad estates with no hard time. But wait, oh wait, see how the morning breaks. It's the simplest of love songs, but it's all our hearts can take. Though we lose our stake, heaven is where we make it. Even in the smallest places, can a garden grow? So oh wait, see how the morning breaks. It's the simplest of love songs, that it's all our hearts can take. Though we lose our stake, heaven is where we make it. Even in the smallest places, can a garden grow? Even in the smallest places, can a garden grow?
I heard them in rehearsal, and it's great to hear it again. Thank you for your generosity expressed in this and so many other ways. Each Sunday, we bring our individual joys, sorrows, and concerns to this sanctuary, and we light candles for these joys and sorrows. There are candles at this table and the table in the center of the sanctuary. Well, not exactly center, it's... If you have a joy or concern that you would like to share aloud this morning, you will find cards in the holders in front of you or on the pedestal in the back, which is truly in the center. You can bring them forward to a wooden tray here on the front table. And please write carefully so your words can be honored. There are words to a blessing song in your order of service. You are invited to join in song or just let it wash over you. You are invited forward at this time for our candle lighting.
It's good to be here again. I was here last year sometime.
Okay.
We're going to sing a song that's just an old traditional freedom song. Sing along, and what we'll do is we'll sing the first one we sing is the chorus, and then we'll stick in a verse, but the first line is the only thing that changes, and so you'll hear that and you can join us along, sing it with us. I'll just say, this is a good place to be today. Ain't gonna let nobody.
If he gets fine, we may not make it through the song, but we'll do our best.
Anyway, join us in singing. And stand up, give you a chance to flex your body a little bit, your body and your spirit. If you remain sitting, stand in spirit and sing along with us. Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking in the freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking in the freedom land. Ain't gonna let no hatred turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no hatred turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking in the freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking in the freedom land. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let injustice turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking in the freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking in the freedom land. Ain't gonna let no jail cell turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no jail cell turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking in the freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking in the freedom land. Ain't gonna let no border wall turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no border wall turn me around. Gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking in the freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking in the freedom land. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking into freedom land.
Ooh, mercy.
Thank you to the keyboard men. Guitar players are a dime a dozen, but keyboard players are really important.
Wow, it's good to be here this morning. Try to not keep you too long. Looking forward to being with you over the next several months, and it's great to be with Florence and work with her. Find it amazing, you know, you're going to have to do something here. People back there in the cave, and it's almost full, and it's kind of, I noticed you all play the Unitarian game that, you know, how many of you can come in the door in the last 5 minutes? It's amazing. And that's all right, as long as you get in. Wow, we're living in difficult days. We're living in difficult days, as difficult as I've ever seen. And it's time, it's encouraging to me. Sit here this morning and watch you all come in here, people wanting to come together in spirit. And we, as we always say, I think John Wesley actually started it, but Francis David, the great Unitarian, said we don't have to think alike to love alike. And that's what we need to be about, is loving. Well, I'm not sure where I'm going to go today, to be honest with you. I've got a couple of things came up overnight and the night before that kind of changed my directions, but that's, you know, par for the course. I want to share with you a reading to begin with. It's a little bit long, but I just discovered this and then walked into Florence's house and she told me all about Brian Doyle. Lived out in Portland and writes good books. And this just blew me away. About 3 nights ago, I was laying in bed and read this, and Glenda was reading something. I said, you have to stop. I want to read this to you. As a fan's notes for grace and a quavery chant against the dark and a hurrah for the hustings, I sing a song of things that make us grin and bow, that just for an instant let us see sometimes the web and weave of the merciful, the endless possible, the incomprehensible, inexhaustible, inexplicable, yes. Such as, for example, to name a few, the way the sun crawls over the rim of the world every morning like a child's face, rising beaming from a pool all fresh from the womb of the dark, and the way jays hop and damselflies do that geometric arrow amazing thing, and bees inspect and birds probe and swift chitter, and the way the young mother at the bus stop has her infant swaddled and huddled against her chest like a blinking extra heart, and the way a very large woman wears the tiniest miniskirt with a careless, airy pride that makes me so happy I can hardly squeak, and the way seals peer at me owlishly from the surf like rubbery grandfathers, and the way cormorants in the ocean never ever get caught by the onrushing waves, but disappear casually at the last possible second. So you see their headlong black stories written on the wet walls of the sea like moist petroglyphs. And the way no pavement, asphalt, macadam, concrete, cement thing can ultimately defeat a tiny, relentless green thing. And the way people sometimes lean eagerly, face first into the future. And the way infants finally discover that to their absolute astonishment, that those fists swooping by like tiny fleshy comets are actually theirs. And the way when my mom gets caught unawares by a joke, she barks with laughter so infectious that people grin 2 towns over. And the way one of my sons sleeps every night with his right leg hanging over the side of his bed like an oar, no matter how many times I fold him back into the boat of the bed. And the way the refrigerator hums to itself in 2 different keys. And the way the new puppy noses through the hay fields like a headlong, exuberant, hairy tractor. And the way my daughter always makes one immense final cookie the size of a door when she makes cookies. And the way one son hasn't had a haircut since Napoleon was emperor. And the way crows arrange themselves sometimes on the fence like the notes of a song I don't know yet. And the way car engines sigh for a few minutes after you turn them off. And the way your arm goes totally all nonchalant when you are driving through the summer with the window down. And the way people touch each other's forearms when they're skated or dizzy. And the way every once in a while, someone you hardly know says something so piercingly honest that you want to just kneel down right there in the grocery store near the pears. And the way little children fall asleep with their mouths open like fish. And the way sometimes just a sidelong glance from someone you love makes you all shaky for a second before you can get your mask back on. And the way some people laugh. When they laugh, they tilt their heads back like they need more room for all the hilarity in their mouths. And the way hawks and eagles always look so annoyed. And the way people shuffle daintily on icy pavements, and the way churches smell dense with hope, and the way that men's pants bunch up at the knees when they stand after kneeling in church, and the way knees are gnarled, and the way faces curve around the mouth and eyes according to how many times you smiled over the years. And the way people fall asleep in chairs by the fire, and snap awake, startled and amazed, unsure just for a second what planet exactly they are on, which is a question we should all ask far more than we do. Look, I know very well that brooding, misshapen evil is everywhere. In the brightest houses and the most cheerful denials, in what we do and what we have failed to do. I know all too well that the story of the world is entropy. Things fly apart, we sicken, we fail, we grow weary, we divorce, we are hammered and hounded by loss and accident and tragedies. But I also know, with all my hoary, muddled heart, that we are carved of immense, confusing holiness, that the whole point for us is grace under duress. And that you either take a flying leap at nonsensical, illogical, unreasonable ideas like love, marriage, marathons, democracy, and divinity, or you huddle behind the wall. I believe that the coolest things there are cannot be measured, calibrated, calculated, gauged, weighed, or understood except sometimes by having a child patiently explain them to you, which is another thing that should happen far more often to us all. In short, he says, I believe in believing, which doesn't make sense, which gives me hope. Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said. Another book that has influenced me in the last few weeks is Bell Hook's book, All About Love. And I encourage you to get it if you haven't seen it. I started reading it, and the first few chapters have not been easy. I don't mean uneasy in the terms of understanding. It's a rather simple writing style, plain, fairly concise, with little attempt to impress with highfalutin words, as Granny used to call them on the Beverly Hillbillies. Just letting you know how old I really am. No, when I say they have not been easy, I mean it's somewhat painful for me to read. But life without pain is no life at all. Last week in Bloomington, we had a gathering in our sanctuary, that safe place that Unitarians provide. It was somewhat of a teach-in, a hard-hitting slap across the face of white supremacy. A slap not as an expression of hate nor punishment, but rather a wake-up slap. A come out of your white fragility and face the reality of white supremacy slap. Kind of felt good after the fog cleared, you know. Kind of made me go, whoa, whoa. Afterwards, I told Jay to be a young person of color with African American and Potawatomi ancestry. I told her I felt bruised, but I understood her admonition to suck it up, snowflake. Suck it up. She was blunt. She was beautiful, she was funny, she was gracefully kind. And I'm thankful for you churches, where people can gather and deal with this kind of difficult subjects, painful subjects, without there being any bloodletting of spirit or body. This is why we're here. I felt bruised again when I read Bell's description of men being less comfortable talking about love. about the effects of the patriarchy on us, on men. Male supremacy and our ability to be loved. What has it done to us? Big boys don't cry. My generation, I heard that a lot. You probably did too, a lot of you. Big boys don't cry. And to be sure, about the only times I heard or saw my pappy cry was when he was singing gospel music in revivals, or when he was mourning the death of his firstborn son, or after he had lain in bed, paralyzed and unable to speak for years on end. His crying as he sang really didn't negate the big boys don't cry thing, which really applies to big boys when they're hurt. Big boys are not supposed to cry when you're hurt. When it comes to babies and puppies and songs and movies, my daughter would say it doesn't take much to make a Breeden man cry. But crying in the sensitive places of my life, in the painful places, big boys don't cry. It was just one of the common phrases that were used when I was a child. Children have an innate sense of justice and logic. They're born with it, I think, and it comes to them naturally. I remember trying to figure out the logic of some of those phrases. One utterance was usually heard when riding in the back seat of a car. The first time I recall hearing it, it was a 53 Chrysler, at about the age of 5 or 6, I suppose. And you all remember those big bench seats that had a rope across the back of the seat? Remember those? We'd stand up in the back of the car, hang on to that rope, and Pappy'd go around curves, and it was really exciting. It was wonderful. But I was caterwauling about something of great import. Maybe the news that we weren't going to stop at Farland for ice cream. I don't know what it was, but I was wailing. Pappy said, "Stop your crying or I'll give you something to cry about." I might have stopped crying, not because I was afraid what he was going to give me, but maybe because I was thinking, does that make any sense? I already got something to cry about, What's going on here? That may have been the first philosophical question of my life, really. Actually, I don't ever remember Pappy whipping me. My twin brother Daryl, we were the youngest. I have no other brother Daryl. He doesn't remember ever being whipped by Pappy either. He says he thinks Pappy wore himself out on our older brothers and just didn't have it in him anymore. After years of practice, he might have just realized it didn't work. It didn't work. I appreciate Bell Hook's chapter entitled Childhood and Love. I've long believed that culturally accepted violence against children is a seedbed of violence in a culture and a life. I encourage all parents to read the book. There's no such thing as redemptive violence. There is no such thing as redemptive violence. I remember a few years ago, as a church up in Indianapolis, a fundamentalist church, and the preacher put out these bumper stickers, "Have you spanked your kid today?" Encouraging. Every time I saw one of those at a stop sign, I had to force myself to stay in my car. I wanted to run up there, pull a person out, and spank them. Say, "Do you like this?" I didn't, thank goodness. I'd have been in jail for other reasons. As young parents, Glenda and I thought spanking was a good disciplinary tool. That was what all the preachers said, spare the rod and spoil the child was the mantra. To be sure, it did not rise to the biblical injunction to stone disrespectful children at the gates of the city, but it was a form of violence. It was a form of violence. It was teaching them that might makes right. That's precisely the only lesson. Fortunately, we met a young couple early in our parenting experience who had learned the methods of parenting for peace, and we adopted that practice. And I'm thankful that our adult children give witness to the efficacy of that change. Either that or we're just incredibly lucky, or both probably. So I encourage you to read in Bell Hook's book. Now just let me share a few more thoughts about love. Elizabeth Gilbert says in her book, Eat, Pray, and Love, people think a soulmate is your perfect fit, and that's what everybody wants. But a true soulmate is a mirror. The person who shows you everything that is holding you back. The person who brings you to your own attention so you can change your life. A week or so ago, I received a letter from a person whose love is unquestioned and unfathomable. It was a mirror for me to look into. It brought me to my own attention so that I could change my life. It was a good, loving thing to do. I couldn't have heard it in words face to face, really. I would have set up all kinds of boundaries. But the letter was a mirror. It was a courageous thing to do. It was a truthful thing to do. It was not easy to read, but it may smooth out some of the wrinkles in my life and the fabric of my life and my relationships. Not long after reading it, I ran across this line from Mary Oliver. Someone I loved once gave me a box full of darkness. It took me years to understand that this too was a gift. I'm glad it didn't take me years to understand that that letter that had some darkness in it was not just a box of darkness, it was a gift. And it may be because my heart has been opened up pretty wide recently after 2 trips to the border and seeing the asylum seekers across the border with Trump having closed the border to them. And it's not illegal to come across the border seeking asylum. We need to say that every time somebody says they're illegal. They're not illegal. It's an international law. It's all the things that we have signed. But seeing what I call the TARP city right across the bridge in El Paso, families with children sleeping under tarps. When just a mile or so away as the crow flies, Annunciation House has a beautiful warehouse fixed out to sleep 1,500 people, with a medical clinic, with a clothing store where people can choose new clothes free, with food. Everything is there, and the day they opened it, Trump closed the border. The very day a week it opened, the border was closed. And now they've closed them against Brazilians as well. So my heart was open pretty wide when I got that letter, and reading that looking into that mirror with an open heart was a good thing. I hope your hearts are open. I feel that they are this morning. I hope you will explore the many facets of this jewel we call love. It's not just an emotion. It's an act of will. It is an act of will. In reality, Bell's book is a DIY, do-it-yourself, self-help kind of book. The thing about love is that it relates to life, the heart of life. I grew up in the Nazarene church many lifetimes ago. And I remember in Odin, Indiana, in a small little church, there was a little alcove behind the pulpit and there was a picture back there of Jesus standing at the door knocking. The Bible phrase says, I stand at the door and knock. And the preachers would point to that door. And they would say, notice something strange about that door. There's no knob on it. Jesus can't open the door. The only knob on that door is on the inside. Think about that. The only knob on the door to your heart is on your side. If you want love in your heart, you've got to open it. You've got to open the door. And I tell you, once you open it wide, you ain't never going to close it again. It just won't close again. You'll find it just went out of jam. Something's wrong with the door because it will never close again when you open it wide to love. That door, that's the door of your heart. Ursula Le Guin in The Lay of the Heavens says, love doesn't just sit there like a stone. It has to be made like bread, remade all the time, made new. I remember I've done so many weddings I can't remember. I have people come up that I don't even remember and they say, you married us. Okay. But sometimes somebody will come up to me and say, oh, there's a marriage made in heaven. And I want to say, that's crazy. There ain't no marriages made in heaven. There's no relationships made in heaven. They're made right here on earth with our feet on the ground. That's where they're made. And they're made every single day. You've got to bake the bread every day. And if you do, it rises. The aroma of it will take you away, make you hungry for more. That's what love does. And we have to rebake it every day. Indeed, we have to rebake it with every breath. Martin Luther King said, I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. Hate is too great. I don't have time for hate. I don't have the energy for it. I was speaking at a rally not long ago, and it's about the border situation, and I obviously talk about the tweeter-in-chief, and somebody started hollering, jail, and put him in jail, put him in jail. And I said, I don't really want Trump to go to jail. I've seen jail change a few lives, short-time jail. It can help in some cases. I don't want him to go to jail. What would that serve? It costs us a lot of money. Plus, it wouldn't change him. I think he ought to be tried, and he will be acquitted this week, I'm sure. I think he ought to be tried in a criminal court, and I think he probably will be someday, because I think he's crooked. But I don't want to put him in jail. I want him to be ankle monitored. I wanted him to be forced to behave. I wanted him to be sentenced to serve in a food kitchen 40 hours a week for 7 years. 7 years, really. Every day, serving someone. And I believe somewhere along the way, some way, one of those homeless people, one of those hungry people will break his heart open and he will learn what it is to be a human being. And that's a much better solution than sticking him in jail. It's a much better solution. I don't have time for hate. It absolutely eats me up. And life is too short. And I've probably told you, maybe the last time I hear it, is that I really come to believe that I speak in terms of me. I own only one thing in this life. I just took it. And I got to give it back. If I don't give it back, I die. There's no choice in the matter. And what really matters is how I give it back. And I can give it back in fear, I can give it back in hatred, or I can give it back in love. And what you find when you really realize that this is all I have, it's all I have, my breath just taken, then the most important person in my life is the person right in front of me, and how I give it back to them is all that matters. One breath at a time. That's what love takes. One breath at a time. It's an act of will. It is an act of saying with your breath, I love you. And if we can say that to the world, we can change the world. Finally, along with the exhortation to read Bell Hook's book, I exhort you to go see A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, if you haven't already. Anybody seen this? It's absolutely wonderful. What a world difference would be if our children were being raised on Mr. Rogers and Sesame Street instead of Friday Night Smackdown. It'd be a different world. Fred Rogers said, anything that can be talked about can be managed. Anything that can be talked about can be managed. Breathe in love, breathe out love. When you talk about hard things with people, breathe in love first, so that when your words come out, they are tempered with love. I believe very much in the words of the Buddha. The trouble is, you think you have time. The trouble is, we think we have time. We only have our breath. We only are here now. Go in love and change the world. Blessed be. What's next?
Thank you, Bill. In that spirit, please rise in body or spirit to sing hymn number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere.
There is
more peace.
There is more peace somewhere. No, there's more peace somewhere. I could keep on till I find it. There is more peace.
You can put your books down. It's joy. It's joy.
There is more joy somewhere. You know, there's more joy somewhere. I could keep on till I find it. Yes, there's more joy somewhere.
Now, I tell you what we're going to do. You lay your books down. Just think about this. Some of you have already reached out and touched another. You can do it with your hands. You can do it with your elbows if you don't want to get, the flute. You can just touch one another. And I want you to remember, sing it this way. There's more love right here. There's more love right here. I know there's more love right here. It's in my heart, it's in your heart, and we're going to find it.
There is more love right here. I know there's more love right here. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. Yes, there's more love right here.
Our closing words are from Shel Silverstein. You read the question and I'll read the answer.
How many slams in an old screen door?
Depends on how loud you shut it.
How many slices in a bread?
Depends on how thin you cut it.
How much good inside a day?
Depends on how good you live it.
How much love inside a friend?
Depends on how much you give them. Blessed be.
Go in love and peace.